Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a video here for John Carter 3D, which came out in 2012, and it's based on Edgar Rice Burroughs' books, or short stories, pulp, novellas, whatever you want to call them. I've been kind of in a pulp mood the last couple of years, checking out new things like Robert E. Howard's work, like Solomon Kane and Conan. And I knew Edgar Rice Burroughs created this franchise. I've heard a friend of mine back in the day, I haven't talked to him in years, but he used to rave about this movie when it came out around 2012. He told me up one side and down the other that it was fantastic, that it was it was unfair that this movie flopped to him. And I just kind of kept putting it off, and now you can't find the movie for a decent price anywhere. My sweet, beautiful mom got me this Blu-ray combo pack thing with a DVD in it, and a Blu-ray 3D, which I don't even think they make players for that anymore. Not that I'd want to watch it in 3D. I mean, it could be cool, but I don't do that. My sweet mom got this for me for Christmas this year, and I could not wait to watch it, because I'd been hunting it down for a while, and I wanted to actually watch it, because I've been in such a big pulp mood. Like I said, I had tried out things that I think are much better than this, like the Lone Ranger reboot with Armie Hammer and Johnny Depp. That may surprise you that I say that, but I don't know. I just enjoyed it more than this. Same thing with the Solomon Kane movie from a few years. I think around the same time, maybe 2009 is when that came out. I think that's a million times better than this, to be honest. The Conan remake, I think, is better than this. But I was curious about what this would be like. I know that the full title, even by the end of the movie they show it, is supposed to be John Carter of Mars. And I knew that it'd be sci-fi fantasy pulp, and that's all I knew going into it. Essentially, this John Carter of Mars had a big influence on sci-fi and people like George Lucas, by the way. Just like Dune did, you know? But Dune is like, to me, I've tried to read Dune before, and I just can't finish that first book. It's not for me. I don't like the movies, any of them. I haven't even bothered to watch Dune 2, not watching the stupid-ass TV show. But I respect it. You know what I mean? I respect it, but I think it sucks. I respect the reputation, but I'm not wasting my time anymore. John Carter I feel different about. From the creator of Tarzan and all that, I want to give this more of a chance, and this movie makes me want to check out those books more. So I'm going to do that at some point. Hopefully have some reviews for you, God willing, but we'll see. Anyway, John Carter, it essentially is about a guy. Who is this? What is this actor's name? Taylor Kitsch from the Battlefield movie. I always forget his name. He was kind of a new attempt, kind of like Zendaya, for like Hollywood to push a new actor into a bunch of big blockbusters, and then they just disappear. Sam Worthington was the same way. Basically, he's on Earth in like a Civil War era, you know, and he was like a weary soldier, essentially. He was a captain in the military. And fighting in the Civil War, it was already a dirty job to begin with. He's not really a great guy, per se. But he ends up going on a run when basically he and a bunch of people meet up with some Indians, like real Indians here in the U.S., and it doesn't go well, and they have to go run, and he hides Bryan Cranston, who's in the movie for a moment, out in like a cave, and he comes across this guy, and like he has this like piece of jewelry thing. I know it sounds awful how I'm explaining it, but I'm just trying to explain as best I can with still a little bit of sick brain in my body. He hands him like this kind of thing, this piece of metal, that basically transports John Carter to Mars, out in space. And at first he doesn't know he's there. He just thinks it's kind of weird, but he comes across these green alien people. One of them is played by Willem Dafoe, and he's great in the movie, by the way. But John Carter being on Mars with the atmosphere and stuff, he has like a little bit of powers, and I don't know if it's a gravitational pull thing or what, but like he can jump super far, which allows him to fight better and whatnot. He was already a warrior on Earth, but now he can like really fight. And there's kind of like another civil war happening there, so this is kind of like sort of allegorical, but not really, for like him joining the Indians out there in Mars, you know, to kind of get where they're coming from more on Earth, but not really, because he's not on Earth the rest of the movie. There is a lot of action in this movie, and I actually think the film does super well at that. I think the CGI most of the time is really cool. Some of the fights are a little lackluster, and they're supposed to be lackluster to prove a point about this character, John Carter. But I don't know if it helps the movie all that much, you know what I mean? Because there's so much action happening in it, the best fights should be satisfying, but not always are they. But the CGI usually looks really good. I think the film's camera work looks pretty cool. The people that are fighting against like the green aliens with 4 arms and stuff that John Carter's teamed up with, they're more human-like, but they're not human. Like, they're not from Earth the way he is. So he can do all his crazy jumping and stuff, but no one else can on either side of this war on Mars. And, like, nobody knows about, like, oceans and stuff. That's kind of weird. At one point, John Carter teams up with, like, a princess queen who's super sexy. Her fucking battle armor is, like, a bikini, basically. It's very bizarre, but but no complaints, right? The movie was fun, and what I love about pulp fiction in general, is that it's supposed to be fun, just like comics. They should be fun. First and foremost, they should be action-packed, have that human drama be an ornament to those things, if you will. And not always do you see that. In current day stuff, like with this came from Disney, this adaptation. Not always do you see these things adapted in a great way, the way I think Disney did with, like, for example, Lone Ranger, which I thought was way better than this. It's sad to me because I feel like this movie's sequels could have done a lot more than what this movie did, feeling like what it is, an origin story. I feel like the sequels could have really done a lot more with John Carter of Mars and could have made it way more fun. And I don't know what the sequels are like in the books and stuff. I don't know if this is even based on the first book. But I had a good time. I just don't love it like I think a lot of people did when this came out, or like my friend did when it came out. He kept recommending it to me over and over again. It has its moments. It has really solid performances. Now, a lot of faces you'll know, even in the CGI mocap they did for the alien people that are like the Indian representation. But everybody was really solid here. It has a lot of really thought out, and this is probably an Edgar Rice Burroughs thing more than anything, more than Disney. A lot of the cultural stuff feels really thought out. Really thought out. There's a whole fight scene, for example, involving like a gladiator ring that, looking at it, I was shocked, and I was like, this is clearly what inspired Geonosis Battle Arena in Star Wars Attack of the Clones with George Lucas. Which, again, like I said, this is a big influence on George. You can tell. I loved that whole scene for the most part. I loved the whole gladiator thing in general with movies. That was awesome here. That was probably my favorite part of the whole movie, to be honest. But like I said, it has that sci-fi element. Like, the humans have, like, spaceships and stuff, and I don't know how I feel about that part of the tech. You know, I don't know. The tech thing feels unbalanced to me, but I feel like if I read the books, I'd be more happy with it. But I still think, like, Lone Ranger from Disney with Armie Hammer, I think that's better than this. I love the Solomon Kane movie from around the same time. I think that's a million times better than both of them. It doesn't really land the way I think it needs to, if you will. Pardon the pun, because it's John Carter. But again, I wish we had gotten sequels, because to me, I watched this, and this is so much better than like anything coming out now in theaters. Anything, pretty much. I would take this over the majority of the MCU in current day. But it's sad to me that we're in that place that there's such missed opportunity for what we could have gotten with this. My friend, like I said, he used to just whine about not getting sequels to this movie because of how it flopped so badly in theaters. And looking back, and I'm finding movie after movie that I enjoy quite a bit compared to what's coming out now. And it makes me sad too, like 15 years down the road, you know? Anyway, John Carter of Mars, it was cool. It had a lot to offer, but it still has this generic feel sometimes. And I feel like holds the movie back so much. And that's a shame. And I feel like a lot of that's in the script. I don't think that's a Taylor Kitsch issue. I think a lot of people blame him for that with movies like this and Battleship. But I don't agree with that. I like this guy. I think he works for this role. To me, I can take a generic action hero over trying to overly develop that action hero and making them whiny. And this movie doesn't make that mistake. This was at a time that Disney did not make mistakes like that. Again, see Lone Ranger with Army Hammer. They really did a good job of balancing act back then, and I don't think they can do that anymore. I don't think the writers that they bring into Hollywood are able and capable of doing that anymore, which is a shame because, this is so, to me, this could have been more special than it was, but in hindsight, it was coming out at a special time with Disney, in movies in general. So I'm sad that I missed it all these years. I don't know if I would have bought this myself if I had seen it back in the day. I don't know if I would have bought this for my collection, my physical media collection, because I don't know. There's just something off about it, a little too generic-y. But I would totally watch this again. Does that make sense? I would totally spend the time to watch all 2 hours and something of this movie again, because it has this frame of cleverness that I feel comes from Edgar Rice Burroughs, that I feel like it could have made this movie more if they had embraced that more, I don't know. I don't know. I wish I had more to talk about with this movie, aside from the CGI feel that it tries to go for. But it's just not great. It was not as great as I hoped it would be, or the way my friends used to say it was. But I'm glad I finally got to see it. I'm glad I own it. I'm glad I finally got a copy before these things get too expensive, because, dude, the price of John Carter Blu-rays are insane right now. If you haven't looked that up, you should look into that. So, anyway, this was a used copy. I'm really glad I got it. Thank you again to my mom. If you happen to be watching this, Mom, I love you. And anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say. Have you read the John Carter of Mars stories? They used to collect them at Barnes & Noble. I wish I'd bought it up back then if I knew what pulp was, but I never did. Do you love those? Do you hate them? Let me know what you think about this movie. Put all that down below, too. What do you think is better? I really want to hear that especially. How much influence did this movie get from one of the stories, or any of the stories for that matter? Let me know all that down below, too. Anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.